Beyond the Ring, a podcast that covers all things in the stock show industry, from the informative to the insane, starring Ryan Rash.
I wish Santa would publish his naughty list. What a great way to meet people.
And Dale Hummel.
Doubt kills more dreams than failure ever will.
Now on with the show.
Welcome to Beyond the Ring. This is Dale Hummel, along with co-star Ryan Rash.
Hello, hello, hello.
Ryan, it is a busy news week.
Yeah, I'm very, very unhappy. Like, severely unhappy. Like, the
About
most
several things, not just
unhappy
one.
I've been in a long damn time. So, yeah.
I would assume leading the way is Colorado.
Yes.
Because they're introducing wolves.
No, has nothing to do with that. So yesterday,
they are introducing wolves.
I don't give a shit about wolves. What are you talking about?
Colorado is the state. I assume, I don't know if it's a state or the federal, but there is a pack of wolves that lives in Colorado. But they're introducing more wolves into Colorado, and you can imagine the farmers and ranchers aren't very happy with it. But Chase, it caught his attention for some reason. He did a little research. If they were to kill a cow or cattle in Colorado, it appears as though the compensation, if you can prove a wolf killed your cow, guess what the number is?
I have no idea.
$15,000.
I would have lots of wolves killing.
I would like. I wish they'd introduce him to Illinois and we'd have a goat smorgasbord. A goat smorgasbord. Well, you can tell us more about what's more. I think it's good for the Colorado cattle people to know this, and I'm curious.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I'm assuming they'd still rather not have them, but if they're compensating at $15,000, I don't know. I really don't know what to. I'm confused.
This is the most useless piece of information that has ever been shared on this podcast before. But anyhow,
it's much more positive than what you're going to talk about from Colorado.
So yesterday, the Colorado Supreme Court, which is all Democrat, all 7 of them are Democrat appointed, by the way, all 7, in a 4-3 decision decided that Trump cannot be on the primary ballot for the 2024 election. Because even though he has never even been indicted with this, they have decided that he led an insurrection on January 6th. And because of the 14th Amendment, that makes him ineligible to hold office. That the Colorado, 4-3, all Democrat. Yeah, I'm pissed. I'm angry. As angry as I've been in a long time.
This is based off of something that happened post-Civil War on a couple candidates from the South that were trying to run. It sounds very weak, and it sounds like this is the perfect situation for the Supreme Court to take it up and reverse this decision and set a precedent that's pretty strong. So I feel very comfortable that this is the ideal case for the Supreme Court, and it will get turned over. But I am with you. This is ridiculous. This is challenging our democracy.
No, this is all that. But there was a riot at the Capitol on January 6th. Did it get out of control? No, none of that should happen. I agree. This is actually an attack on our democracy. When a Supreme Court can decide who the voters in a state can vote for, that is an actual attack on democracy, not what happened at January 6th. This right here.
100%.
This is an attack.
And it's interesting. It was a 4-3 vote when they were all Democrat appointed.
And the Chief Justice dissented, by the way.
Got it. I was not aware of that.
Yeah.
I am confident from the
he
little
wrote
bit
the
that
dissenting
I've
opinion.
watched on it. And I can't say enough how ridiculous and how this does challenge the very roots of our democracy. But I have faith that the Supreme Court, and only because it's a little weighted conservative wise at the moment, will reverse this. If we had more liberal appointed Supreme Court justice, it would make me nervous. Very, very nervous.
Well, but we talk about this country being divided and all this other stuff, and I don't think the average person that does not stay engrossed in this probably realize how divided we are. An event like this is something that could actually tip a civil war, because this is actually telling people you cannot vote for who you want to vote for, all this other stuff. The only thing that I am going to say, and I think the only reason any of them are doing this, is probably to avoid something like this. Well, I don't know about that one guy, but DeSantis, Haley, Viagra, and even Chris Christie has said that they want to beat Trump at the ballot box, but that everyone should be allowed to vote for who they want to vote for, etc. Even Chris Christie said that. It's a mess. And then also the Colorado GOP came out today and said that if this decision stands, they will switch from a primary to a caucus so they can vote for Trump.
So they're already adjusting,
yes,
to accommodate if needed.
Uh-huh.
And do you think I am confident.
I am not confident in anything the Supreme Court says anymore. No. Nothing.
I think it will go. I think it will go there. There's no question in my mind. And maybe I'm being too optimistic, but the fact that it's even happening, and you made a statement, Ryan, and I'm going to bring this up later as well, that the average person out there, the U.S. citizen, does not realize. We hear about how divided it is. But this has gotten to the point where it's politicized at the Supreme Court level, not only in the state, but our federal Supreme Court. There is nothing that this political polarization isn't touching at this point. And I think things that at one point were very subjective. We follow the Constitution. We follow the rule of law. We rule upon such. At this point, I don't know that people in those positions are maybe as clear-minded. We've known the Congress, Republican and Democrat, will vote right along the lines more now than ever. And there's almost no crossover votes. And is that possible that there are things that come up that aren't being politicized when it's exactly down party lines? No. And I'm not just saying on the Democrat side, but on the Republican side as well. But that is just more evidence that it is so divided and so politically polarized. That is my biggest fear. This proves that it's gotten to a level that it's going to impact our country. And I think worse, and this sounds crazy, worse than the Civil War, is we're taking down a path where we have absolutely no control. The people no longer have any control of who is going to be our president or our leaders. And I value that as I consider that to be as drastic as a civil war. It's a sad situation, very sad. If Trump was not meeting the requirements for the presidency, which they haven't even had put him on trial. He has not been convicted of this. But if he was convicted of something, and I'm not even saying correctly or I'm not even saying he was convicted in just, but rather if he was convicted of something that did disqualify him, I understand. And I do not believe there's anything that there is out there. I'm not saying that they won't. But this continues that snowball effect, and it's a serious problem. And I feel where you're at with the seriousness of it.
Again, they have put a stay on this till January 4th because Colorado says they have to have their ballots in place January 5th. So but again, it's the 20th, isn't it? So is the Supreme Court going to act before then? Over Christmas and New Year's?
I do not know. They said they were going to act on it. The Supreme Court, the pundits assume they're going to act on it quickly.
Well, I mean, I know there's.
I don't know what that means.
I mean, I know there is a way for them to do it, but are they? I don't know. I think they should shut this down now, or at least give a decision either way. Because again, what you're saying, I get what you're saying, that people telling you who your leaders can be or can't be or who you can vote for, that's worse than a civil war. But Dale, that's the whole what this country is based on. That's why there will be a civil war.
Agreed. Agreed. I guess what I'm getting at, and this is going to sound terrible, that if we go down that path and there's complete control and no input from the people, I'm not saying I'm promoting a civil war by any means, but I'm with you. That's something that will happen. That if it doesn't happen, we're in. Yeah, I don't even want to go down that path because I'm afraid I'll say things that I should not.
This is, in my opinion, depending on how I mean, if the Supreme Court rules against it and everything, I think it will, whatever. But for some reason, if this doesn't, this is probably the scariest event that has happened in at least my lifetime in regards to the fabric of our country and our Constitution and our rights, in my opinion. Right here. This is where we're at.
I think it's there, and I don't know if you're done with this one, but I'm going to take it another direction on the world stage. And this was something I had thought about last night. And I agree with you. Within our country and our democracy, in my lifetime, this is the biggest challenge to it, period. There's no question. And we can come back to this, but I want to point out something else. And it just proves where we're at, not only in this country, but on the world stage, and the issues that are present with our planet right now. So Republicans in Congress just now cut off funding to the Wuhan lab a couple weeks ago. Does that seem strange to you, or almost impossible even?
Nothing is, as I said, I don't find anything impossible anymore. But yeah, it's wrong. I'll say that.
I mean, I can't even believe that we would sponsor any lab in China, let alone one that's working with manipulating viruses such as this. Documents were also released recently, and maybe this is why the Republicans in Congress pulled the plug on funding the Wuhan lab, that I believe it was, and I hope I'm quoting these dates right, in 2018, we as taxpayers funded research on spike protein virus manipulation, i.e. COVID, basically. And it was our tax dollars. And guess who signed off on all these things, Ryan? Remember that Dr. Fauci?
Uh-huh.
I'm not saying there weren't others that obviously were aware, but he's the one signing off on who's getting this funding. And we're sending U.S. tax dollars to the Wuhan lab to study spike proteins. And the lady studying it, the scientist, her common or nickname was the Bat Lady. So there is no question, and you and I have talked about this, but there is no question that Dr. Fauci and others in our government were fully aware from day one where the COVID virus came from. And I cannot tell you if it was intentionally released or it was a biosecurity leak. I don't know which that was. I can see a lot of reasons that China would release it on the world because of the state of the economy they were in at that time. But this, to me, is the largest crime ever committed on this planet, worldwide, no question. And there has been zero accountability anywhere. And how is it? I'm assuming Dr. Fauci, I don't know if he's still on the government payroll, but retirement. How is he not at least in jail at this point for misleading everyone, saying, well, no, it was probably animal-based. It wasn't from anywhere else. He knew exactly where it was from. And at this point, he's still walking around a free man. Do you want to know what I would like to do with him?
I have no clue.
No, it's not shoot him in the kneecap. It is not. And I'm not going to go any further. But that is a criminal act like I've never seen before, not just on him, but the fact there has been zero accountability whatsoever. And we talk about this Colorado ruling. Absolutely. Biggest threat in our democracy in our lifetime. Releasing the COVID virus or allowing it to release and not taking responsibility and covering up how it happened. Think about how many people that killed. Think about the economies it destroyed. And I'm not saying our government or other governments handled it correctly. I don't think they knew what direction to go. And I think some took advantage of it. But either way, it set the world back for a very long time on many, many levels. And there still is zero accountability. And that concerns me.
Well, anyway, on to other news. There's so much. Again, I don't even know what's going on with the wars and all this other stuff because everything that's going on here in this country has kept me just up in arms. But anyway, so what I find very weird is that now even like CNN, MSNBC, the very woke liberal mainstream media companies or whatever, so they're kind of attacking Biden on several different things. But it's all coming down to Hunter and his new indictments and all this other stuff. Well, what's getting way more coverage, even on Fox, than this Colorado bullshit, is that Hunter went jewelry shopping with his father this weekend, and that he was left off the Marine One passenger list, which I guess that's a violation of the law. I don't know, but I don't understand how that, I mean, granted, they're turning against Biden for all the obvious reasons, but how is that anywhere near as important as this other stuff? I don't know, but it's getting a lot of press coverage.
Agreed. It seems crazy. Maybe they left him off for a reason. I don't know. It just is what it is. It appears as though they're trying to hide the fact that he was with the president on Marine One, but I really don't know. But it is getting a lot of coverage.
Well,
a lot of coverage.
Again, if they're trying to hide it, why'd they let him get off the freaking helicopter with his father in front of every news reporter that covers the White House and camera?
I don't know. I cannot answer that. No idea.
And then the one thing that we all know that, I mean, this is it, I don't know if it's funny or whatever, but I am professed a terrible driver, and I understand that, accept that. I don't tell people to ride with me, whatever. But I do not know how that man literally T-boned the presidential motorcade this weekend. Like, how is that possible? Like, I don't know, but I thought that was interesting. And then you have no comments on that because you're the perfect driver, I'm assuming.
I'm a pretty good driver.
Right. And then
I would have to admit that.
The last bit I've saved for the last because I know it's going to make Dale very uncomfortable.
I have something to insert prior to going down that path because I know where you're going, and it's not. There is no reason to go down that path.
It's
you
news.
Sent that video.
It is news, and it is bullshit.
Before we get to whatever, I don't even know what to call it. Before we get to that, I saw a blip. There was a poll that 51% of young voters support Hamas over Israel. Do they have no idea Hamas is a terrorist group, I assume. No idea. I assume they're thinking they support the Palestine people over Israel. I can understand some people going that path, but supporting a terrorist group, Hamas, over the country of Israel or the people of Israel, that's how uneducated many people are. They're out there protesting. They have no idea what they're even protesting. It is absolutely ridiculous. And if you support the Palestine people, maybe you should be a little harder on Hamas because they're the ones using Palestinians as human shields. I don't know that the Palestine people truly support what Hamas is doing. I'm sure some do and some do not. But this terrorist group has basically taken over their land and completely controlling everything about it. So do I feel for the Palestine people that oppose Hamas? Absolutely. But those that are in support of that terrorist organization, I am out, completely out. That is a organization backed by Iran that is as bad of a terrorist group as we've seen in a very, very long time. And one other thing before you go down a very dark path, I know you're going to. 3 out of 5 immigrants coming across the border, 3 out of 5 households are now on tax-based government welfare. And they're coming in by the tens of thousands each day, Ryan. How is this sustainable? How do we not recognize that this open border flood will change the dynamic of our country? People, it's too late. We can't, the extreme terrorists, those that want to harm our country, they're here. I'm not saying they're not going to send more in, but even if we close the border today, completely sealed it up, we are going to feel the pain from this for many decades because those that have any organization to them at all, from a terrorist regime to some of our adversaries, China, Russia, etc., you don't think they've taken advantage of this? You absolutely have lost your mind. How things like Colorado, things like COVID, nobody being held accountable on that, our wide open southern border. These are times, Ryan, like I could not have ever even dreamed would happen. And there's so much crap going on. None of them maybe overwhelm people because you just bounce from one to another. And there's so many catastrophes that are happening under the Biden administration. It's hard to even quantify. And it all is almost becoming normal. And people are becoming I guess, almost acclimated to this is how the world is. And it's so wrong, and it's going to be so destructive to our country long term. I'm very fearful, even if Trump were to be elected and try to change things and shut that border down, we've let so many people in. There's a date. There was an attorney on that was trying to get an immigrant in through the legal process. Do you want to know when their asylum court hearing was scheduled for? He just scheduled this past week, 2031. So the people coming across the border, give them their name, and they give them a court date somewhere in that 2031 range to show up at to go through their asylum hearing. Does that make a lot of sense?
Tons, the most.
Amazing. Just I can't even. There's 3 million back cases for asylum seeking people that have come across the southern border. I am out. I am so far out. Just like I said, no accountability for Dr. Fauci and those that funded the Wuhan lab and covered up where it came from. Our sitting president, there appears to be minimal accountability there. Hopefully he doesn't get reelected. But I think that some of the things he has done to our country are criminal, period. Now you can go down that terrible path you're thinking about.
Well, this won't take long. But anyway, unless you live in a dark hole somewhere, you have probably heard something about the Senate hearing room sex scandal. And Dale had tried to ignore this until yesterday, and then Dale wanted to get all up in arms about it, and so we talked about it. And then
no, yeah. I simply made a comment I had not seen the video.
And no, that is not the comment you made. You said
is all.
No, you're lying. You said
you are distorting.
No, I said, well, I have the video, and you said, send it. I said, you don't want to see it. And you said, yes, I do. Send it. And then I sent it, and now you're unhappy. But anyhow, that is not the point.
I did tell you to send it, and I do regret you sending that. I can never get that out of my phone, let alone out of my memory. Horrific.
Anyway.
Experience.
So we know one is a staffer for Senator Cardin, but two little gay boys decided that they were going to go to the Senate hearing room and they were going to have sex, and they recorded it. And not only did they record it on their phones, then they shared it in a group chat with other gay people involved in politics in Washington, D.C. And one of those persons either sold the video or did something anyway, and now it's major news and all this other stuff. My point on all this is I don't care if it was two women, if it's two men, if it's a man and a woman. This is just wrong. Like, I just can't even tell you how wrong it is. If you haven't seen the video, Dale will suggest that you not see it. But
I will not be sending it to anyone. It has been destroyed off of my phone.
I mean,
I will get a new phone if I have to.
Yeah, but anyway, my whole point in this is we know that there was thousands of hours of video footage about the January 6th riot because they've all been released. These two people had to know that this was going to be videotaped because it was in a Senate hearing room. Anyway, they didn't have to videotape it themselves.
And at least one of them's a staff member. They know There's cameras everywhere. How ignorant are these two? How did they think they were going to get away with it?
I don't. That's my point. My point is, I don't care if it's two men, two women, women. How in your brain can you say, you know what I'm going to do? This is what we're going to do. We're going to go and we're going to get butt ass naked and we're going to have sex in the Senate hearing room and nobody's going to know. Like, how do these people get employed? This is not only for this. This is for these campaign managers. I do not understand how these people can be employed by the government and have this little intelligence or decision-making, life choices, whatever you want to call it, about them. I mean, this is just beyond stupid. Like, this is the stupid. I mean, and for Dale's first thing was, well, what about Bill Clinton?
And the fact is that before this was shared, before they shared their personal video, the security there had this on tape. And
Well,
we heard nothing
that
about
was
it.
my
Maybe they
point
chose
is
to-
I don't understand. They have all these cameras. They've got to be people watching this footage as it goes live. I don't know how the two little gay boys got into the Senate hearing room, got completely undressed, and got to do all this, much less
someone could have stopped this. They
Exactly.
could have. They saw it happening. I guarantee you somebody was watching it. I don't know how they could watch that.
And well, my whole
do
thing
not
is,
understand.
why did someone not stop them? Because not only did they do it, they went all this, and then got dressed, and then left and went home, back to their homes. Nothing comes out until
This-
they're stupid enough to share the video with a whole bunch of other queens, and one of those queens probably made a whole lot of money by selling it. But yeah, again,
you would assume this is no different than all the security cameras in the White House. Do you really believe there's a square inch of the White House that's not on the security camera?
no, and that's what I
No,
said when the
there's no
whole
way.
cocaine thing came out. They know who did it.
Yes,
They know.
they know exactly who went to that little storage area. They have it on tape, no question. And the bullshit that they can cover that up, unbelievable.
Oh, I'm with you.
Accountability. Maybe that's my new word for the year. Accountability. There is zero. Zero.
You're not wrong on that. But anyhow, well, do you have any other current events that you would like to talk about?
That was a long. That we could almost just label this Beyond the Circus. And
I wanted to have a whole Beyond the Circus about the Senate gay boys sex scandal, and Dell said no.
no, I can't do that.
I thought it would
I cannot.
be great.
We're not going to bring this up ever again. It's done. It's buried. It's gone.
Yeah, right.
No, that's a very long. I apologize for the length of our current events today, but hopefully we've caught some of you up on the pressing issues. And these are huge events that are taking place. And I'm still convinced that the average person out there is not fully aware of just how serious some of these issues are. And I hope by Ryan and I discussing it at least briefly, that heightens some of our awareness out there. And I think a lot of people that listen to us are already there and they understand it. So maybe we need to reach out to a different group. I just don't know how to get to them. With that said, do you have any BTRJLA news?
Yeah, top 10 nationwide cattle standings as of now. First place, Dallas Ritchie, LaPorte, Indiana. Second place, Todd Danley, Texas. Third place, Sarah Danley, Texas. Fourth place, Taylor Poff, Ohio. Fifth place, Garrett Roosh, Ohio. Sixth place, Grady McCrew, Pennsylvania. Seventh place, Jalen Kimmel, Texas. Eighth place, Faith Campa, Arizona. Ninth place, Lindsay Tyler, Mississippi. And 10th place, J.W. Powers of Malta. Would like to thank one of our corporate sponsors for the year. If I can pull up, there it is. We would like to thank Showcoat. Champion approved for years, Showcoat manufactures the best award-winning livestock grooming products for show cattle, goats, horses, sheep, and swine, no matter where you are in the country, no matter what species you have in the barn. If you're looking for the winning edge, the advanced shag strategy developed by Showcoat Solutions will change your hair growing routine overnight. So we appreciate Showcoat for their loyal corporate sponsorship over the past 2 years. Please visit their products and give their shag strategy a try at showcoat.com.
Thank you, Showcoat. Unlike many products we consume each day, ShowFresh H2O is American-made and backed by actual science. ShowFresh H2O will neutralize the city chlorine and help keep show stock hydrated. Muscle is 80% water. You decide the importance of water consumption, then hit your local farm store, supply trailer, or swampfox.com to get ShowFresh H2O. And Ryan, I did have a request from our non-paid graphic designer today.
Non-paid graphic designer. That would be Holly?
Yeah.
Okay.
She has 2 Frenchie pups ready to go. 2 Frenchie pups ready to go.
Uh-huh.
Do you want one?
No, I do not.
They could live in your tower and kind of keep your room and play
I don't want a dog.
traveling.
I don't want a dog of any
I
kind.
think they fit under the seat. You can travel with them. You can put them under the first class seat.
Not doing it. Next.
Can Chase and I talk you into one of our hybrid dingo pups?
No. And
You
you
can leave
said
them
we're
out.
going
You
to
can
talk
put them in
about
the
those
barn.
because all your lawsuits.
Well, no, we had a little issue with using the Walkabout name with another kennel that had registered the name, but we've worked that out and we've changed the name. And we're now in compliance and cooperating well.
Uh-huh.
Chase would never do anything that would upset anybody.
Right.
Do you want to give the title or shall I?
You go right ahead.
Most wonderful time of year. So we went from all the negative, the incredible negative in current events, to the most wonderful time of year.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan, this is all you.
It's called an oxymoron.
I will tell a story somehow, somewhere.
I just think that I don't care where you live in the United States or what type of species of stock you show. This is, in a lot of different ways, a pretty unique time of the year for everybody. And I just thought that, we could point, and it doesn't have anything to do with Christmas or the holidays. It has to do with all of the things that are happening in the stock show world. And again, we've had some not so cheery topics lately. And again, I just thought this would be a nice one with this coming out right before Christmas and all this other stuff to just kind of remind us all of the good things that we have going in this industry and what a kind of cool time of the year it is right now for many, many, many multiple reasons.
I took your topic title, Most Wonderful Time of Year, as definitely talking about Christmas and the Christmas spirit.
Again, you did not listen to anything I said, so
and you know what? I was excited to address that because you know what direction I was going to go with it? Would you like to know?
I have no idea.
You're going to hear it anyway.
Uh-huh.
I was going to talk about how you lock yourself in the Rapunzel Tower and do not socialize and share in the spirit with your mother and daddy.
We're not talking about Christmas. I don't even know.
That is a true statement.
Oh, God.
Very true statement. No. I thought we were going to talk about Christmas parties and how enjoyable they were, all those good things.
No, not so much. That has nothing to do with livestock. So, again, I guess I will be carrying this on my own. But the obvious things is there are a lot of people that are getting geared up for some very large major shows that are about to come up. And on a national level, obviously, with Christmas less than a week away, most people leave for Arizona National either on Christmas, before Christmas, or shortly after Christmas. And so, again, that show is coming up. It'll be the last points year of the BTRJLA. I'm sure Dale is going. Aren't you, Dale?
To Arizona. Yes, and it is. I don't know if the dates changed or how it worked out, but we used to leave on Christmas Day, so we'd adjust when we had Christmas, usually to the day before and so forth. So we would be traveling on Christmas Day. But the last couple of years, and this year for sure, we don't leave until the very, very early morning after Christmas. And that works out for us getting checked in down there. But you're right. A lot of people are going to be traveling pretty much right at Christmas time or just after. And it's good. And I know we're not focusing on Christmas, but when you say it's a wonderful time of the year, this may sound crazy, and it's a 24, 30, it's a very long drive from Illinois to Phoenix with a truck and trailer. And my wife, Holly, Chase, and Katie and I will be driving to Phoenix, and that is how it's been in the past few years. And in all honesty, that time together during that drive is quality time. It's actually a good time. Normally you think, well, this is going to be a mess. It's going to be too much time in the vehicle. And once we load livestock, we don't. I choose to not stop overnight at a hotel or any of those things. It is my theory that if we can the sooner we can get from point A to B and get them settled in, the better. I know others say, let's take breaks and offload. Our trailers are set up where they're so dang comfortable, and we've got feed, water, we've got everything on there. I'm not saying don't stop and water or drench if you need to, but for the most part, we're going to drive straight through and get them settled in and let them get that day or two rest prior to the show. And after that long a haul, you really need that. And there's something to be said about those that are showing that are local, that can come in quick, get in there, no stress, versus some that haul. And we've got to take provisions to allow us to make sure those animals aren't stressed, that they are hydrated, that they are on feed, all of those things. And it's worked best for my family to go straight through, stopping to drench and feed for short periods of time. So we will be traveling all day the 26th and into the morning of the 27th to get there, but it's a good time. I can relate to when you say this is a wonderful time of year, because we are going to go experience a little warmer weather, we hope, in Phoenix, and a very user-friendly stock show. Come home for a little while and head to Denver and to Cattlemen's Congress. And then guess what's right around the corner? I believe you get into Fort Worth and Texas Majors. I mean, it's all piling up really quick.
Well, yeah, but, and like I said, Phoenix is coming around here, and we really wish all the exhibitors that are going to Phoenix the best of luck, especially the BTRJLA members. And Arizona National was so wonderful last year about getting us the results the day of the show. We hope that they're able to do that again this year, but I'm going to leave that to Dale since he's going to be out there. But they were really, really wonderful last year, and we hope that they are able to be as efficient getting us the results as they were this year. So, and as Dale said, right after Phoenix, in terms of national shows, there is Cattlemen's Congress for the world's or the United States' largest cattle show in the last several years, and then Denver as well. And I'm sure they have some new facilities. I don't know if they're all finished, but again, so you've got 3 really big national shows all within the next month or so just happening. And so again, and not everybody goes to them, but a lot of people do. And so that is a reason for everyone to be excited. If you live in Texas, like I do, then you are probably trying to rest as much as humanly possible right now, because as soon as the first of the year happens, it is just an onslaught between, if you show Hereford, you go to Odessa, but if other than that, there's for all species, Fort Worth, San Angelo, San Antonio, Houston, and Austin, and those all take place from the middle of January to the middle of March. And so, and this is really a culmination of almost a year's worth of work for whatever you're doing in Texas, and it all boils down to that. And so, again, everybody is, I would say right now they're probably excited and nervous, but going to be a lot of fun to see how all that shakes out. And if you live in the state of Oklahoma, you have OYE coming up. And we all know that how serious the Oklahoma exhibitors take that show. It is a huge production and a big event and very, very competitive. So, as far as, just those shows right there, I mean, again, some of them are national, some of them are, statewide, but there's a whole lot that affects our industry and everyone in this industry, not just Texas, because think of the number of breeders and brokers that sell animals to Texas Major Show kids. I mean, I would say it's an overwhelming percentage. Wouldn't you, Dale?
We do. We have 2 kidding seasons, just to use our operation on the goat side as an example. We'll kid in the fall, and then we'll kid again in the spring. And the fall is pretty much the Midwest, the state fair circuits. Even Dallas comes into play, but for the most part, county and state fairs. And then we'll kid in the spring for some of the I call them out of the normal county fair season, which the county fair season's year round if you go across the country. But our biggest pull for our spring-born goats, and we have just as many born in the spring as we do the fall, is Texas and Oklahoma with the majors and OYE. And then there'll be a few shows outside of those 2 states, but that's a big pull for it. And it's interesting. Maybe we should have an episode on that, Ryan, but there are some changes that have happened, and they've been there in the past, and I can't speak outside of the goat species. Maybe I can look into it and we can give a brief update on it. But there are changes. For example, San Angelo this year I cannot sell goats into Texas that can compete there. They have to be Texas born and bred. And I'm not saying it's good, bad, and different, but it's definitely changing that dynamic. And you remember,
if you just send me some goats down here, I'll be your satellite herd.
That's exactly where I was going. You're putting rules in place. How many goats from out of state you think will show at San Angelo?
A lot.
They are not going to. That is not stopping anything. It's
again. Just send me a couple of those. I'll be your satellite herd. It'll be fine.
Yeah, trust me. That's what's happening. And will we develop some a satellite herd down if this continues? Yeah, we don't have a choice. But you're right. I guess the point I was getting at is that's a large market. And I'm not saying that maybe all Texas majors should be all Texas raised animals, but it is absolutely impossible to enforce. So you're putting rules in place that just don't work. So again, I'm not opposed to the theory if that's what they want to do. It's their shows; they can do what they want to do with them. But sometimes we're complicating things that just are not going to fix. It's not going to accomplish what they want to accomplish. Maybe is the best way to put it. But it does impact
a goat herding outfit.
Huge. You could just throw a couple does out in your pasture and we're good.
A goat herding outfit. I like this. This could be fun. But anyway,
I don't even know what that would be with you.
I don't know either, but I think it could be interesting to find out. So anyway,
I envision the Smurf like makeup for the Christmas party type thing.
Anyhow, so very busy time of year for many different kids and families and brokers and breeders around, just on a handful of shows. Again, we're talking about 3 national ones and 5 that are just in one state and another one that's just in one. But that group of shows right there will affect almost everyone that sells animals in this industry. Would you not agree with that, Dale?
I would, and sometimes you and I are numb to certain things. But think about when you talk about this wonderful time of year and the excitement and everything that's going on, and we are not. I think we appreciate it, we recognize it, but think about that first time exhibitor for going to Arizona National or the Cattlemen's or wherever they're going, a Texas major. Just how exciting and almost a little intimidating at first, but all the experiences that those kids that haven't been able to exhibit there because they're too young or just haven't got to go before, there's a lot that family is doing everything they can to prepare and excited to go see how they get along at these shows. But there's an excitement level, an anticipation level that it's hard to put into words, and without experiencing it in the moment, it's even hard for us, you and I think, to reflect back upon those times. And I'm not saying it's not great for that senior exhibitor to go to Houston or San Antonio or whatever. They still are excited and nervous and all those things. But think about that.
I think that senior years are the worst.
One of these,
my God, they make my stomach turn.
It's probably more, but I think it's more stress than excitement.
Oh, easily more stress. And
I don't think those outside of Texas understand what they mean when they say this is my kid's senior year.
Oh,
I can't even fully embrace it. And I've worked with those families for 15 plus years, but it is a huge deal. And it seems like if they had X amount budgeted for their whole show career, just about that equal amount the past 4 or 5 years is going to get dumped into their senior year because they want that senior year to be pretty special. It's a pretty big deal.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, the reason I guess I can't explain the phenomenon about it because again, senior years in Texas are this huge thing because every major show in Texas, State Fair, all of them, like once you graduate high school, you're done. Well, I mean, at the national shows, at a lot of state fairs and all that other stuff, you can show till you're 21, sometimes 20, 19, whatever. But I mean, it in Texas, once you graduate, you're senior, you are toast. And so,
and I believe it is grade based versus age based. I think 3rd grade, not younger than 8 to start.
Right. And 12th grade. Yeah. Yeah. It is not. Yeah.
And so I mean, it doesn't, I mean, there's some that will homeschool and try to push in a little earlier, but they do put an age on the bottom end for sure. And I don't know what's on the top end, but for those that aren't in Texas, we don't comprehend that because we're all age based. It has nothing to do with school year.
This is school year.
Just for our listeners outside of Texas, it is your school year. So your senior year, as far as those Texas shows, and I assume it's at the county shows as well, right?
Oh yeah, no, it's all. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying you can't maybe go to some jackpots might allow some. There might be some oddities there that
they get very angry if you try.
Yeah, so I don't know if there's rules in place, but it's just obviously it's a written rule, but for most shows, it's just most people adhere to that. When you're a senior in Texas, you're pretty much done. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying some won't go on to national shows for a couple of years outside of Texas, but for the most part, they're done.
And I also, and again, Texas is blessed to have so many more shows than almost any other state, and especially in terms of having 6 very large shows that are as large as any national show that you could attend. I think part of it is when you get to that point, there are very few kids that continue on because we've been through it all. There's not much left, and we've got to show so much more than anybody else in any other state that we're okay with being done then. And I just think that's why another reason that the whole senior year phenomenon in Texas is a big deal. But despite all of that, even if you're not from Texas or Oklahoma and maybe you don't have something on feed or aren't attending those 3 national shows in Denver, Oklahoma City, and Phoenix, think about all the other kids out there right now that have new projects that are just on feed. They're going to jackpot shows, etc., that are state fair, ones for their state fair and stuff like that. I don't think, again, while I love every aspect of the livestock show industry and I like all parts of it, I don't know if there is ever as an exciting part of when you get the new group of animals each year. And it doesn't matter.
Even out there searching for those animals.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter if you raise them or breed them or buy them or whatever, but when you get that new crop in and get them in your barn and start working on them and all that stuff, I can't think of a more exciting time every single year than when those new babies are in. And it is like no matter what's happened the year before, your hope is restored. And you have all these new dreams and goals and all this other stuff. And whether it was a great year the year before or maybe not so good a year, it is just like a wave washes over you and everything is new and alive, and you can start all over again with a brand new slate and try again. And I just always think, at least for me, my perspective, I don't know if there's a more exciting time of year than that.
I agree. And I guess that one of the ways that here this past week I've been able to relate to it a little more is that we have several families showing goats at the Arizona National that have contacted me and said, hey, we're going to the Arizona National. And they most of them have been in contact about feeding and different things and preparing for this. But this will be their first time there and just asking all the questions. And you can tell there's some excitement, the anticipation. And when we talk about that's a very user-friendly show, it eases them a little bit, and that we're going to be there to help with anything we can. But the fact that we can help make that a better experience, and the fact that I get to personally kind of be a part of that experience of those exhibitors being there for the first time at their first national show, and just everything that's involved with that, it's heartwarming, it's touching, it's exciting, it's good, it's really good. And let's hope they have a positive experience and get to go a second year or maybe on to another national show. And sometimes, Ryan, you and I take it for granted that a lot of people get to not only exhibit at the national shows, but even go and watch and participate. But there's a lot of people out there showing livestock that haven't had that opportunity yet. And that's kind of one of their goals. Let's go watch a national show, and eventually let's see if we can't get there and exhibit it at one of these shows. And it's a big deal. And sometimes we get a little numb to just how important that is and how exciting that is for people.
I think the sex scandal tape has literally caused your brain. I was talking about new projects and you jump off into I don't know. Anyway.
Oh, I think it is exciting for news projects. I think it's just as exciting to take that new, that first, I guess what I'm trying to get on is that first time experience going to that national show. I can think about when, I apologize, I couldn't even tell you which one, but I'm assuming Kansas City or Louisville is probably one of our kids' first national shows. Uh-huh. And I mean, that just being there and that whole environment that, wow, we're a part of this is it's hard for me to even explain. And maybe I'm more sentimental or more emotional about it than most, but it's hard for me now to go back and get that feeling other than when I get a chance to work with some of those families that are just now coming into that. And back to your exciting about putting putting that new set of animals in the barn, and irregardless if we had a good year or a bad year, that excitement level's beyond belief. And I used to get just as excited when we were going out searching for those show pigs or lambs or goats or whatever, steers. I used to enjoy that search maybe as much as anything, even as much as when we get them home in the barn. And it's good. It's fun. It's enjoyable.
Yeah. And so again, I can't. Anyway, I'm going to try to quit laughing. Dale, I am so sorry I've ruined your brain for life.
What?
Nothing. So, regardless of whether you are going to a major national show or you've just got your new projects on feed right now, I think this is a time where everybody is pretty pumped up and the positive energy is flowing and all this other stuff. And I think it is a good time for everyone to just kind of think about, even if you're leaving for a week in Arizona, this is a time or you have a steer on feed for State Fair in August. I think one of the most beneficial things that everybody can do over here this next little bit, because kids are out of school, all this other stuff, is really contemplate on what your goals are and what you want to accomplish and what you realistically can achieve. Because this is probably a whole podcast topic, or I've talked about it with Dale being a whole podcast topic, but just at some point in the future. But at the end of the day, I think one of the biggest problems in our industry is that there's only going to be one grand champion goat at the National Western Stock Show. And you can use that example for anything. And that's going to be one person and one family and one breeder or one broker. So there's going to be a handful of people that are attached to that animal. And it's going to be something that they'll remember for the rest of their lives. But there's also a whole nother barn full of people that worked hard, put forth the effort, did all they could and whatever. And just because you weren't the grand champion doesn't mean you didn't accomplish something. And I think a lot of times that's how it's looked upon. And so my best advice is to, of course, we all want to go and we all want to win. And I don't want anybody to not go and not want to win. But I think the best thing is also have other goals. And they don't all have to be livestock placing oriented. I mean, again, we've talked about Texas Majors briefly. I can tell you that probably, I would say half of the exhibitors that go to Texas Major shows or more, their goal is to get in the sale, not to win the show. And there's nothing wrong with that. And they celebrate that victory just as if they were the grand champion of the show. And I think we need more of that, because we need to have more realistic goals that we can accomplish and celebrate and be proud of. And again, they don't all have to do with what goes down in the show ring. It could be making new contacts at the show, or, spending more time with your family at the show in an event outside of the show, whether it's Top Golf or when people go to Denver, they go skiing, all these things. But try in this next year to have other goals other than being named the grand champion XYZ.
I think a lot of us that you talk about, we feel like if we don't win grand champion, we've not accomplished that goal. I think a lot of it is self-imposed, and it's just a mindset. And you used an example that the Texas Majors making that sale. It's a mindset. That's the goal. Make the sale. I'm not saying people don't have goals to win it, but the first goal and the goal for most people would be making that sale. And maybe at the other national shows where Arizona National now has a top 3, I believe they pay out. Denver sells a lot of animals through their junior market auction. So we can have some of those same goals, or let's say that let's get in the top 2 or 3 of our class. And sometimes we forget at the national level that takes a lot to get to that point, and that's an accomplishment. That's a good thing. So I like the thought on that. Think about what your goals are and make them realistic. And if you can exceed them, great. But let's remember everything involved in getting to that point, just as Ryan had explained there, is where the youth are benefiting, and we're trying to build these youth. And we've said it so many times that when I look at that, the younger population that's not involved in the livestock arena or something similar that can work on work ethic and responsibility, we're in trouble. The woke society is taking over, and darn sure need to have kids out there that are coming up through our stock show industry that have those qualities that we've seen and have made this country great. And this is part of it. Think back as parents, you're thinking, well, all the time and money you've invested in this, and I can't tell you how many parents, when they're done with that senior year or done with their national shows, will have a conversation with me that there was nothing better they could have done for their kids than to get them involved in this industry.
See, it is the most wonderful time of the year.
It is.
Despite Dale's scarring from the sex tape scandal.
You just can't stop laughing about that part.
I can't, because your brain is fried.
It was bad. I'm not going to argue. It was horrible. Why would you send that to me?
Because you told me to.
I didn't think it was. Yeah, I didn't. Let's just leave it alone. It's time for question and answer. Let's just go on to something.
Okay,
do you have a sponsor today for question and answer?
Basic Animal Health knows how important it is to get
that video out of your head. Just get it out of your head and go on.
Basic Animal Health knows how important it is to get Ryan and Dale to answer the difficult questions in the question and answer portion of the Beyond the Ring podcast. We also know how important natural health is to all of your animals. And gut health by Basic Animal Health will help balance the pH water levels in your livestock's entire digestive system, allowing them to absorb nutrients that are vital for show cattle, hogs, sheep, and goats, while also helping prevent bloat. We would also, and we now all have, and they also have, this is a new ad, sorry, I'm trying to read it, and they have Show Focus and Trailer Ride as well, and they have all natural supplements for your dogs too. Check them out at basicanimalhealth.com and enter the code BTRJLA at checkout to receive 20% discount, and a portion of the proceeds go to benefit the BTRJLA. So thank you to Basic Animal Health and the Leonard family, and go check them out and their products at basicanimalhealth.com.
I think you could use some of that Show Focus right now. Right now. Clint, please send Ryan Show Focus. A couple tubes. Okay, with that said, the first question's a little bit long, not terrible. This one comes to us.
Is it about Ben Cardin and his staffer?
No, it is not. It has nothing to do with that. Zero.
Damn it.
During a show that I was watching, there was a February ewe lamb that missed her class completely. The class was placed and had left the ring already. And then the owners tried to show it against the March ewe lambs. They were called out on it. And so the judge brought back only the top 3 from the February ewe lamb class and placed it second. I've never seen that done before and wanted another judge's perspective on it. And it tells where it happened. I'm going to leave that part off. What do you think? And
so
I love the podcast, everything you guys do.
You and I think that's acceptable, not acceptable? What?
Nope. Yeah, they're asking you. We're going to pretend it's you. Yes, it can. Huh? Can they pretty much? Not only did they rejudge, they only brought the top 3 back. It sounds like so. The person missed their class, tried to go in the next class. They were kicked out of that class, but then the judge brought their original top 3 out of the February class back in and placed them second. I don't. Yeah, that's Yeah, you just better answer that one. I have an opinion on it.
So this happens more often than what people think or know, because unless it happens to you or happens in your class, then you're not aware of it. But it does happen probably at every show. Somebody misses class, I would say. And a lot of times when I am judging shows, they ask me what I want to do. And I explain to them that is not my decision, because I am not show management. And that is because every show has different rules and all this. I don't know what happened in this situation. Whoever sent in this question is saying what happened, but I'm not sure that, unless they know for a fact that the judge said this is what we're going to do, probably don't need to put all this blame on the judge. Do I think that is a odd way to handle it? Yes. But if that is what the show management, or if show management left it to the judge to do, and that's what they decided to do, instead of a kid not getting to show at all, what do you say? The worst thing in the world is for someone to have put all this work, effort, and energy in at this show and miss their class and not get to show at all, not to get to exhibit. There have been lots of ways that this situation has been handled when I am judging a show, but I stand firm on the fact that I have never made those decisions. And even when they've told me to, I said, no, I'm not going to, because I'm not running the show. And so show management will have to handle it. I can, obviously, this was a animal with a birth date. The most common thing that I have seen when the animals are shown by weight is if you miss your class, they just roll you into the next class where you're in a heavier weight class. But again, I'm not going to condone this situation, but I'm also not going to say, oh, that's just god awful, because again, the exhibitor got to show. So very, very tricky question, very difficult situation. I am always going to probably be for a solution where the exhibitor gets to show their animal. Not saying, again, not being there, not knowing how this was handled or the situation completely, hard to make a hard and fast ruling on that. But I have never seen that happen before. I will say that. They asked if, I think part of the question was, have I ever seen that happen before? And the answer is no.
Yeah. And I think a little odd that they only brought 3 back from the top 3 from the previous class. So some oddities, I guess, to me, and just like Ryan mentioned, it's the show management's decision. If they want to ask the judge's opinion on it, I guess they can do anything they want and make that decision. I would encourage them to be consistent throughout the show. If something happens like that and it happens, you have to continue to be consistent. And it's going to vary all over the country at every single show. So I don't think there's a hard, fast rule. I would say, if anything, Ryan, the majority of the shows will say you missed your class, you're out. When it's by weight, like that you said, they bump them into the next class. I think that's reasonable. And sometimes that could work to an exhibitor's advantage, depending on how competitive the class they originally were in. So I just don't think there's a good answer to it. So do your best to make sure you're there on time. And I feel for those that travel that far and put that much preparation in and can't show. I'm with Ryan on that one. Second question. Hello, my kids show sheep and goats, and they had a couple questions. They had a question to ask. We've had red, black, green, and blue water buckets. We have noticed over the last 2 years that the pins that have the blue and the green buckets seem to drink more water than the other pins. Do you think this is a coincidence, or is there something about those colors that might make them drink more? I know keeping them hydrated is critical, so wanted to see what your opinion was. I think we've talked about this a little bit before, or at least you and I have.
I don't think the color of the water bucket matters. That's me.
Yep. And I come in and we do use all light green water buckets, and I have an explanation for it, and I don't know that's justified, but we did a similar experiment, and they seem to drink more out of that when I'd give them other bucket choices. I like the lighter colored buckets. I'm not saying just light green, because you can see that slime build up. And I know when those buckets have been rinsed out well and kind of wiped out well, so there's none of that scum. So I'm a huge fan of absolutely is water clean enough that you're going to drink out of. And if it's in a dark colored bucket, you can look in there and you really don't know how much slime buildup or anything's in there, but the lighter colored buckets, it's easier to see. So I don't know, it's because in those lighter buckets, you're presenting cleaner, fresher water, which may do that. But our experience is the lighter colored buckets, we do get better water consumption. The only explanation that I can give is the buckets are cleaned out better because it's easier to see. That's all I got. But we do actually in our protocol recommend that color bucket primarily for that reason. And hopefully it increases water intake. The final one, this is a statement and a question kind of all in one, Ryan, but I'm going to go ahead and read it because I think it's relevant. And again, I went into the email and there's so many questions in there and so many that you're supposed to respond to in terms of judging shows.
I do not have access to this email. I don't know what the hell. I don't even know you have an email.
I don't. Clifton told us what it was a long time ago. I don't even know how I got it on my phone or my computer.
Right.
This one comes from Randy. After listening to an episode, I think it was about fit, non-fit is what he's talking about. Being a show supply dealer here in Texas, dealing with blow and go shows, rules are getting more difficult. I assume it's more difficult to enforce. I'm in agreement with Dale about natural looking animals, but this can be accomplished with some grooming products. Also agreeing with Ryan, a fitter that is good can make an animal look natural also. I believe that the correct term for these two types of shows would be product or no product. Doing your work at home, whether it is for fit or non-fit shows, is where winners are made. As a dealer, I've talked with a number of customers who are fitters, and they say it's harder to get an animal ready for a no-fit than a fit show. Do you believe we should maybe make for a name push to product or no product versus fit and no fit? And again, I assume here when he's saying that, when we have that definition of fit and no fit, it's a pretty gray area, what you can and can't do or what products you can and can't use. So I don't think, and I would like your interpretation, Ryan. I'm going to take this question a little further, because I do get asked this and we do get put into these situations. And most of the places up here do call them non-fit or fit shows. Does that mean we can still blow the legs out and clip them out? I look at it as we can't use adhesive. And maybe that's not how it should be looked at. But if we go product or no product, to me, wash them, blow the legs out, clip the legs out. If that hair is perfectly trained at home, Ryan, how do those legs still look? On a calf, for example.
I'm going to go completely against you and this guy here. So, fit and no fit's pretty easy, in my opinion. And this isn't anything new. It means that you can't use paint and glue. That is what fit.
See, now and if that's the definition, it's easy. But I don't know that everybody's on page that is the clear defined.
I would say the overwhelming majority are on page that is the definition. And even in Texas, where this is probably the most popular, on almost any flyer, it just doesn't say no fit. There are rules you can't. It is defined most times, but the product, no product, it doesn't work. Because again, if you really believe that you're going to hold a show of any size whatsoever at all, and you think that there's going to be no product put in that animal at that show, and leave adhesive and paint out of it, they're not going to put show sheen or some type of hair, whatever, then you are living in a tree. It is not happening. There's no way to enforce that. And again, more times than not, all the stuff that goes into the hair, you're not going to be able to use a towel to wipe it off or whatever towel it's on there. I mean, you might be able to smell some of that stuff in there, but again, there's no using someone's nose no product does not work for me, because again, I don't care where I'm at. There shows that Texas Majors say that you can't have anything but water on them, and I'm telling you, almost every animal in that barn has more than water on them. And that's just the truth. So yeah, I'm out on the product, no product.
That's a rule they cannot enforce. It maybe should not be there.
And so, okay, yeah, I agree. But this is a whole show you can't enforce product, no product. So yeah,
no, I'm not saying it wouldn't be. To me, it's clear. Here's what you can and can't do. For example, Texas majors. I can remember when we first started clipping goat legs, and we couldn't use a blower. We dry them with a towel and then clip them out a little bit with no product in them. That was still considered a fitting violation because there was no fitting. And to me, there was no product there. We use cordless clippers, which are allowed, yet the definition of whether that's part of fitting or not. Your thoughts, is that fitting or is it not fitting? You'd say no, because there's no paint, no adhesive, right?
I am telling you, I must state again, by and large, the fit, no fit has to do with paint and glue. I mean,
yeah, the masses at some of those majors, though, that were upset about it, obviously we're on a different page. And I don't doubt that the majority of the people down there see it that way, but I don't know that it's clear just countrywide. And if they do put that in there, they do have to qualify. And we're going to go back to that. If you can't enforce that rule, it just doesn't work anyway. So I think we're on the same page on that one. But no, I think that's good. The product or no product. I think it's an easy one to know what you're supposed to use and not supposed to use, but good luck enforcing it. Very, very good luck. I think the non-fit shows are just hard to enforce anyway. I think, and Ryan, I could be wrong, pretty much the Texas majors are the only ones, at least on one of the few that have a no fit at a major show. Most of the time we'll see it at a jackpot show or maybe a county show.
Oh yeah. I mean, like there's some breeds that you can't use paint and cattle and all this other stuff, which I just don't understand why we can't get one set of rules for everything at a show. Like, I'm not saying it doesn't vary between the species, but it's still, we wonder why people bitch about rules and complain about rules and all this other stuff. It's because some breeds don't let you use aerosol cans, and it's just so stupid. Like, I think probably one of the best things, again, this is the podcast topic that I'm giving away here, or could be. We've talked about unenforceable rules, but I think that there should be more consistency within the species amongst all the different breeds on rules too, at a show.
And I think at least here's a general standard that if you want to vary a little bit, you can. But for the most part, this is what it is. That would make life a lot better. Much, much better. Well, Ryan, I think it was good. I believe that was our third question / statement. Thank you for your time. It is Christmas week, so I hope everybody has a great holiday and safe travels on to Arizona, Denver, Cattlemen's, wherever you may be going. Hopefully get a chance to see a lot of you at the Arizona National. And until next week, be safe.
Merry Christmas, and y'all come back now, you hear?